Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to my channel, Crafty Fun with Mary's Kazaz. This is the process video for the Zoom class that was held on the 27th of June, Sunday, the 27th of June, 2021. And we make a peekaboo slider card. Now, these are not my designs. I have got my inspiration from other YouTube channels, but I have just added my own touches to it. So it's a peekaboo slider card. It looks like that from the top. And you open it like a normal card. And what happens is another piece slides in, and that's the peekaboo slider. So we make these little openings in here and in this layer as well. So there's like 2 layers. And then this piece here is the piece that I cut out from here, and I've just put that down. So it effectively looks like it's all the same part of that card. And then you slide that in there, and then that can be a greeting. It could be more embellishments. It does need to stay flat because it won't push past this piece here. And then that's what the inside of the card looks like. You could put more embellishments there, but you're going to get a little bit chunky because it is a little bit like it will still post, you know. Well, this is a 5.5 inch by 5.5 inch. So in Australia, we'll need to double postage. And these are just using the cutouts and ephemera from the new collection that came out in May. It was Papillion. They're just gorgeous, really beautiful. And I've just used a little bit of stickles on there just to give that a little bit there. And then I've popped that up onto foam tape. And then this is flat. This is on foam tape. So when you open the card, it does overhang, which is fine. And then that comes in there. And then I've done nothing on the back, but this is where you could write your message because there's really not a lot of room inside here to do your message. So you could put your message on the back there. So we're going to be making that. This is the process video for that Zoom class that was held on Sunday, 27 June, 2021. Now, these classes are free. There's no cost to join these classes. You just need to have the Zoom app downloaded on your device, or if you're going in through the web, you need the web client loaded onto your computer. And the link and the password is in my Facebook event, which is on my Facebook page, Crafty Fun with Mary's Kazaz. And each fortnight, just before the class, probably on the Wednesday before the class, I will put up a materials list so you can craft along with me. Or you can just join in. It's meant to just be a connection that we as crafters really love to have. So I started these classes last year through the lockdowns, and it was just a great way to get together, stay safe, but still connect with other people. So they're free to join. I am a Kazaz consultant, so I do use all Kazaz products, and generally there's a link in the bottom of my video that you'd be able to go and have a look at those products if you wish to support me. That would be fantastic. And while you're there, if you click on the subscribe button and the little notification bell, that way then when I put up each process video each fortnight, you'll get notified that there's a new process video. So you'll be able to go back and have a look at those. All right, so let's get started. So the materials list will be down also in the description. So don't worry if you don't catch what all these sizes are. All the sizes and whatnot that you need will be down there. So you will need a card base, and you need 3 pieces for this. You need a piece that is 8.5 inches by 5.5 inches. You need a piece that is 5.5 inches by 8.25. And you need a piece that is 5 3/4 by 5.5. So essentially when your card is finished, you will end up with 5.5 by 5.5. Right, so there is a little bit of scoring to do, not much. I'll just get my scoreboard. Everything is behind me, sorry. Just move these out the way. I've already done these. I'm actually doing a Christmas theme today we've just released out these beautiful little small Christmas themed stamps. They come in a set of 4. Very good value, and these are new papers to Kazaz. Now we have double-sided papers, but we have just brought out a 12 by 12 paper pad, and this is the very first one, which is surfaces. It's 12 by 12. There's 36, and it's 190 GSM. Now that is the same GSM as our double-sided paper, so it is very good quality. This is single-sided, so the advantage with that is if you were making envelopes and you wanted a plain white envelope on the inside, outside, and a patterned on the inside, then you could use these. So that's just been released. It's fantastic. It has 18 designs and 2 of each. So I'm using paper out of that, and the back, there are 2, like I said, there's 2 designs for each one. So this is green and there is a red one. So I'm doing a Christmas themed one today. So on your 8.5 by 8 1/4, so the longer one, they're both the same width at 5.5. On the 8.5 one, you just basically want to fold this in half, and that will make a card base. So you end up with a piece that is 4 1/4 by 5.5. So just simply fold that one in half. Then on the 8 1/4 by 5.5, you're going to score along this long side here, along the 8 1/4 side, and you're going to score at 2 3/4 of an inch. There's just one more score we need to do. So give them all a good burnish down with your bone folder. And then the last one is on the piece that is 5 3/4 by 5.5. Now they're very close to each other, so make sure you do get it on the right side. So we're scoring along the 5 3/4 inch side. So this is the 5.5, and this will be the 5 3/4. And you're just going to score at 5.5. So you still end up with a piece that is 5.5 by 5.5. Now that's all the scoring that you need, and just fold this one down and burnish that. While you're here, you can put some tape onto this one here, because this piece is going to attach into the back of another piece. So it's just big enough to fit your tape onto. If you get a little bit of overhang, just roll it back in on itself. Whoops. Get my backing off there. Like I said, if it has come in, just roll it back and it will be fine. Right, so this piece, actually I should have left that tape on because I do need to do a little bit before that. All right, so these, then we have the layers for them. So we have the 2 inside layers, so that's in here. And these are 5 1/4 by 4, and you need 2 pieces and they sit in here. And then you need a piece that is 5 1/4 by 5 1/4, and it is going to sit on the outside of your card here. So we can go ahead and attach those now. And then we've got to do either a little bit of die cutting or use a craft knife. And you can successfully do it either way. I did this one here with a craft knife, and it's just a rectangle shape. You are cutting out through 2 layers, so you do need to keep that in mind. But I'm going to, for today, I'm going to do that through my Gemini, and I'm going to be using a rectangle die. So I wanted to make sure that you knew that you could do this technique without a die. You can just use your craft knife and do it that way. Just taking off the backings off here. And you do need to make sure that you've got enough tape on the back there, because when you die cut, you still want to make sure that it's going to sit down. So this is this piece here that we're going to attach to. So this is the front piece, and it's this piece that's got the little flap, and you want your little flap to be going out to the left. So my card is going to go that way. I want my stripes to be up and down. Whoops. So this has been cut 1/4 inch smaller, so it gives you a nice even border all the way around. And then I'll attach these pieces now to the inside of this piece here that we just folded in half, and that piece is this piece here. And so it attaches onto the inside of this. So this piece here will attach, whoops, into the inside of the card, and this outer side here attaches onto this flap that we put the tape on earlier. And that's all it is. And then the rest of it is just decorating. But we do need to also create those, the openings. So we're going to do that with a die. But you basically have to do that after you've put your paper layer on, just so that it all lines up properly. Otherwise, if you cut them separately, you run that risk that you're just slightly off, and then your card's really not going to construct evenly, and you might have to do a little bit of doctoring on that. So I'll just pull the backs off these here and get these layers on to the inside of the card that we folded in half. So these again are going to go vertically, and it is also that little 1/4 inch smaller, and so that gives a nice little gap on the outside. So just get this one on now. So these are relatively easy to construct, and once you've done it once or twice, it'll become very quick for you. But it just gives just had another little thing that people weren't expecting to see. So it almost looks like a frame, and you do get a bit of depth in there because of that. But when you open it up, it's just got that little extra little wow factor with that little hidden message that comes through with that. So it's very easy to construct, but it just gives your recipient just a little extra than a normal fold card. And that's pretty much what these Zoom classes are about too. It's about those fun folds, just that little bit different to, your normal card that we all know that we can make. It just gives it an extra little bit of wow. Right, so those are now on. Now, what we have to do, we can cut this way here, but what we need to make sure is that actually am I going to use this? No, I did find that my die, and this is why I cut it with a craft knife, was actually just a little bit too wide, because you need to make this cut no wider than this flap. And when you bring this in here, you obviously don't want your die to go right over to the edge. So I'm actually not going to use the die. I am going to just do it with a craft knife. And you do it from the back side because, like I said, you don't want to go past. So I'm just going to measure out and in. So this opening is 2 3/4. So if I make, and I'm just going to do this on the fly, I want to have 1/4 inch on the outside and 1/4 inch here, so that, this opening here doesn't get too, it probably actually doesn't matter in here how close down here, but you don't want this to be sorry, you can't see that, I'm off screen. You don't want this bit here to be too thin, although you've got a couple of layers on there. And it does look nice to still have a frame. Probably that inside one doesn't matter as much, except when you go to do this part here. This flap, if it's too big, your flap will be, you know, you'll see all the where it joins in that. So just keep that in mind. So I am going to bring it in. So I'm going to have quarter of an inch in from there and quarter of an inch in from here. And I'll do that top and bottom. And I'm just using the edge of this as my guide. And then I'm just going to draw some pencil lines very lightly. And then I can rub those out. So I'm just going to join those up down here. This is just giving me a guide for when I do use the craft knife, that I know where I'm going. And then I'm going to work out how tall I want this opening to be as well. So just very light pencil marks. So all I've done is, I'm sorry for that lighting. All I've done is I've come in quarter of an inch from either side at this point. Now I would want to try and make, you know, again, an even space top and bottom. Even though I filled that in, you still need it to be looking like, you know, it's even. On this one, I've brought this down by almost an inch, and I think if I had a look on, it'd be easier here. So that's about just over 3/4 of an inch, and this one's just on an inch. So I'm thinking I'm going to give it an even, and given that this is where you need to actually make sure where you've got your space. What I'm going to have in the inside here is actually just a little hanging stocking. So I'm going to give it on mine an inch width, top and bottom here. So I'm just going to measure up an inch on this line that I've already drawn and put a little pencil mark. Do that over on this side and then repeat for the top as well. And then I'll make my little mark here for the frame. Again, I'm just going to draw a very light pencil mark across here. And then I'm going to do the same on the other end. So it's very easily done without a die. If you had a die that gave you, you know, these internal measurements, you know, use your die, because that can save you a little bit of time. But I wanted to make sure that you understood you could do it without one. So all I'm going to do with my craft knife now is just cut out this piece here. So now when you're using craft knives, it is much better to be using it against a metal ruler. And make sure you've got a nice sharp blade. And remember, we are going through 2 layers here, because you've got your paper layer on the other side. So you might just have to cut through and use what they call a self-healing mat. If you haven't got one and you're using craft knives, I really, really recommend you do so. Your craft knife is going to stay so much sharper, and your mat is not going to end up with all of these cut marks, which eventually is just going to be, you know, where your craft mat gets really, really dirty. So if you haven't got one, I really recommend you get one. These Kazaz ones are double-sided. So there's centimetres on one side and there's inches on the other side. So if you work in your inches or you're a scrapbooker, these mats are 12 inches inside, and they have the all the measurements on the outside. So I think your mat in total is about 13 inches by 13 inches. They're just a fantastic mat. They really, really are. So I'm just cutting out this, and I'm having to go through it a couple of times because, like I said, you've got a couple of layers in there. So just take your time with it, line it all up. And just, you don't need to press hard. You just have to do a couple of passes. In fact, you're better off to not press hard because you're only at risk of damaging your blade or yourself. And then just pop that out. If it hasn't quite gone over to the edge, just give it a little bit of help. And there we go. Now I can go back and rub out, just be careful where you put your knives. Just go there so I don't cut myself. And then just go back and rub out those little light pencil lines that you had there because we don't need them anymore. Oopsies. Right. So this is what we have ended up with there. That just creased there a little bit. You can keep that for a future project. You know, don't throw it away. So that's the big frontier card. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to attach our insert piece to the outside here now. So this just simply lines up, because they're all the same width, it just lines up to the outside of the card. Sorry, to the inside of the card on that little piece there. So you put your glue or your tape to this, not to this, because it's two different sizes. So go ahead and do that, and we will put that on next, and then we'll cut out that opening. I'm just putting a couple of extra layers of tape down through the center just to make sure that it all sticks on there nicely. You could glue this as well. There's no reason you couldn't glue this. Right. Now, that's one bit there. So we're just going to line up the edges, remembering this is all the same width. So you really just need to pay attention to where that's lining up there. And then all your edges should line up. Now, don't worry, I put a bit of tape there. That won't matter because we're actually going to cut that piece out. Make sure it's all sitting down nice and neat. Give that another reinforcement there if you need to. This one and a bit of a going over as well. You want to make sure these are going to all sit down nicely. And what we're going to do now is cut this piece out. So we're just going to very lightly again draw across here. Open it back out and again use your ruler, and we're going to just use our craft knife and cut this out. Now this might seem like it's, you know, taking a long time. It's not really. You know, it's, if you had the die, of course, you know, you just whiz it through your machine. I don't have a die that's going to suit my opening, so I'm just using my craft knife. Good old-fashioned way, really. You want to make sure you're fully lined up. In fact, I might even just turn that around, make that a bit easier and do it this way, because you want to, once this card's all closed up, you want to make sure that all your edges, you know, you don't have any pieces peeking out on you there. And remember, you know, you are going through a couple of layers, so give it a couple of passes. Keep your blade up nice and close to your ruler, and you'll be right. Very easy to do. You can make this opening any kind of size, as in shape. Sorry, you know, you could make it square, you could make it round. I just kept mine to being rectangle. Take your time. And remember, like I said, you're going through a couple of layers. Right. If you haven't quite got through them, just put your ruler back on and go back over those little sections, and you'll feel it, because if you've got through the whole lot, you'll feel your blade going very smoothly through it. And you'll find mostly where it sticks is your corners anyway. So there we go. Just got a little bit more down on one of these corners here. There we go. Last one. There we go. You get a little bit of paper fuzziness in the corners, just cut that away. Very easy with a craft knife. Oops. And it's just because that's where you've passed over it a couple of times. You know, you might not have exactly lined up each time you've done a pass. Just pull it away and it will be fine. So tidy that up as much as you want to. Just got a couple of little daggy ends here that I just want to pull out. There we go. Another one in there. And like I said, it's really just where you've done a couple of passes and you might have just been a fraction off, but you can generally fix all of those up. Right. So once you've done that, a couple of little spots there. Smooth that back over. Once you've done that, and you can also use a bit of ink, which is what I often do, just to ink down those edges as well, because you just, you know, you've got the raw edge there. So then now that we've done that bit, we've got to do it on this bit here as well, because this opening has to be fully open. You have to go through all of the layers to be able to get that little secret message coming through. So we're just going to basically repeat the step we just did and cut through this other opening. Again, just use your pencil, open it back out. You want to just, you don't want to go through there, so open that up, fold it back. You can fold it all back again later. And then we're just going to cut out our last layer, lining that up against the ruler. Like I said, just take your time, go through all your layers. It would be virtually impossible to line up if you put your paper layer on after. It would be almost impossible to line that up and get them all lined up properly. And that's why we do the paper layer on first and then cut 3 layers. And that way then it just makes sure that everything is lined up. Right, that's the sides, tops and bottoms, and then we're done. And then we can just embellish. Now I'm doing a little bit of alcohol ink marker colouring on mine for my little piece that's going to come through. Now, as you might be aware, when you're using alcohol ink markers, oh, I've gone to the wrong, I went to the wrong endpoint. It will bleed through to the back of your card, and that's actually, you actually want that to happen, because that just makes, it just says that your card quality is very good, because you actually want the alcohol ink to absorb into the paper so that you can, you know, move your colours around properly when you're colouring. Now, it is on the little secret message part, which is fine. It actually won't be a problem that you can see it, because it tucks in, and I'll show you what I mean in a minute. I'll just get this little corner off here. There we go. Oh, I haven't even done the top. One more to do. And I'm just, this might seem like it's, you know, a bit painful, but I'm just making sure that I'm lining up really, really well so that when you've taken out these pieces, you know, it all sits nicely and you can see all the way through. So you've got, you know, everything is lined up. So I'm just finishing off those last little bits. Got a little daggy bit there and a little piece there. Like I said, just tidy up, you know, those little corner bits. It's usually right in the corner where it hasn't quite got it, but they're easy enough to tidy up with your craft knife. There we go. Right, put my lid back on so I don't inevitably cut myself. So this card now, this piece comes back over here when I'll need to, oops, just retrain it back over that way. So this is where I'm going to stamp my little secret message. It's the piece that comes through. So the back piece, so we need to have a back piece now, which is this piece here. And this is that piece that we did that little tiny fold on and we put the tape on. And so it's going to go onto this side here. And it comes in here. So again, you're just going to line up the edge with the edge of this. So this is the back side of that card. So just lining up the edge, top edge. The card width is all the same at 5.5. So you're literally just lining that up. And this should all line up here. Give it a good old press down. This piece tucks into there. And then we have the bases. And I'm just a little bit out here. I'm not too worried about that at all. But essentially, this is how your card goes in. Now, if you were to stick something here, which is what I did, I used my cutout piece of flour on this because that was, it kept the paper the same. But on this one here, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to keep that in the white, but I'm going to just do a very light, and I'm going to rub this out later, but what this will do is tell me where my stamping spot is. And I want to put my little, this is my little stocking, and I'm going to make it look like it's hanging down. So like this is a window. Then I'm going to put a tree here. And across this edge here is going to be my little presents right on the edge there. And they're just going to hang in that window. And I'm going to then put my little toy train just sort of overlapping it there as well. Now, actually, I could just bring that up and make the edge of my little gift there sitting on the edge of this paper layer and then have it onto the edge there. And that will just overlap. And then my little train is just going to sit there. And my tree will stay here. And then when this piece moves in, my little secret message here is going to be my Santa. Santa down here. And I've got ho, ho, ho up here. And that's my little secret message. Now, what I was saying before, this little Santa is got little presents and whatnot in there. And because I'm going to be using alcohol ink markers, it will go through to the other side. But where it goes through is here, this piece here. You don't, when it's all together, you don't see that. And then I'm going to, this would be where my message would be in here. And you could, you know, decorate this as well. You could do another couple of layers, paper layers, whatever. I'm actually just going to leave mine blank, but that's where I would be intending to make my message. So I've marked out this spot here, and this is going to be on the bottom layer is where my stocking is going to fall. So I'll just grab my stamping platform. Whoops. And I'm inking everything up in Memento. I don't really need to do the Memento for this. Oh, actually, sorry, yes, I do, because I'm going to colour this in. Now, where I said I was going to leave that blank, actually I won't be, but probably in this process video, I won't fix it up. But what I am going to do is just put either another paper layer and then a white layer so you can write your message, because it will bleed through to that back pink piece there. So this is the way the card goes. So make sure you get the right orientation. And I will need to bring this around this way. And then this is going to sit up into the corner. And I'm going to have it just slightly coming so it looks like it's hanging. Memento ink, for when you're using with alcohol ink markers, you need it to be not bleeding through. I think my little ink pad is a little bit juicy. That's just given it a bit of extra ink that I really needed on there. It actually looks like it's bleeding. I'm just going to, I haven't used these stamps. These are brand new stamps. So I'm just going to give it a bit of a clean over, because it just, I don't know if you can see that, but it looks, see how it's bled off the ink there? I'm just hitting the edges, and it could be also the angle that I'm sitting on. So I just want to clean that off, take my time a little bit with that. Dry that off. And I'm, also working in a small space, so that's better. It was just the way that I had angled up my ink pad. Right, so making sure that goes into the corner, because if I want to stamp it a second time, I can have that opportunity to do so just by simply having that into the corner. But you need to start off into the corner and you put it back to the corner every time. Beautiful. I don't need to stamp that again. Right, so I don't need the pencil marks now, so I can rub them out. If you do them really lightly, you don't see them. I probably could have put that up just slightly a bit higher. I wanted it to look like it was, there we go. I wanted to look like it was hanging. I mean, it does, but I probably could have put it up just slightly higher. And then my stocking, I will colour in as well. And I haven't quite thought what colours I'm going to make my stocking, but we might make it, let's go, since we've used green, I might just use a red. I'll leave this piece here uncoloured, and I will use my stickles into there. And then I might do some dark green into the stitching. It'll still have a red in the ball and the toes, and then green stitching, just to keep with the green and red for Christmas. Or I could colour this green, give it some red and a dark green across there. And what I could do also, I could just use a black and extend that out a little bit, which would give it the look that it is, hanging off there. Decisions. That's, all right. I think what I'm going to do is go a red stocking, because I've got a red, so this will be sort of how this is all going to be lined up. Or will I go a dark green stocking and red trimming? That's what I might do. Oh, I don't know. Goodness me. So many decisions. Now, what I will do is I will do a red little handle here. And like I said, I could extend that handle out if I really felt like I needed to do that, but I'm not going to. And I was, what did I say? I can't remember what I said now. Was I going to do a red stocking? A green stocking. Green stocking with red. These alcohol markers have got a thin end and a brush end on them. So when you're doing like large areas, you can, now I don't want to do over those. I want to do those little stitching marks to be actually in red. And I'm not going to do the top piece. That's going to, once I've finished the card, I will do those in just a glitter glue. And it will look like it's got a fluffy kind of white top to it. I'm not doing any fancy colouring here. It is just simply getting it coloured in. So there's no shadings, just straight solid colour. And of course, alcohol ink, when it dries, it will, you know, it doesn't generally leave all of the brush marks, but, you know, sometimes you do have to go back, you know, if you've left a little bit out. Right, so I've got the solid colour there. Actually, I might just do a just a slightly different shade green on those toe and heel. Just to give it a bit of a depth to it. I tend to make up all these decisions on the fly. I don't generally have a really big plan of what I'm going to do. And I'm just going to then pretty much colour this as a solid piece, even though it's not a solid piece, but you'd be able to get, you can see the stitching through the colour. So you sort of get the idea. It just would be too hard to try and do individual little stitching there. So that's just that there. And I won't do the glitter glue onto that just yet, because that will be one of the last things that I'll do. So that's that there. So when you've got this folded down, that is just going to be hanging from there. And these, like I said, are going to sit up in here. So it takes up some of that space for it. And then my little train's going to sit across the bottom there. And then what I'm going to do is just stamp the tree in, and it has got little baubles on it, but I'm going to do them in little glitter as well. And I'm going to stamp that in library green. I might do it, just I've got this here. Just simply, oops, I'm utilising the background of the green, and so that will just give me an outline of green on that as well. Now, I need to try and get that to be flat as much. See, I'm going to be stamping over a bit of bulk there. So I might have to turn this round so it's there. This is where you can be tricky. Turn yourself around so you're not going upside down. You just turn your stamping platform upside down. This is the right-hand side of the card. This is the left-hand side. So now we're stamping the correct way. And remember, I'm going to have these two pieces in here. So you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the correct amount of room. So it's either going to be down there. I want this to be coming into the corner. So that will sort of be there. That'll come across there. And then I'll center it to this sort of space here. I'm recording. That was my lovely mother you could hear there in the background. So then this will just give it a green outline on the already green. Oh, beautiful. And I'm going to colour in, I'll probably do gold glitter there. Actually, I might even use, I could use my, like, there's coloured drops and whatnot if I could find them, but I'm probably just going to do a glitter glue onto that and gold for my little star at the top there. So it's all coming together now. Really, the rest of all of this is just the embellishment. So all we've got left now to do in stamping is to do this final piece that comes in our little secret bit there. So again, we want to make sure that when this is laid flat, we know where our stamping area is. So I'm just going to draw a light little area there. And then that gives me where my stamping area is over here. So what I want to have is the ho, ho, ho up the top in the center. And I had, where is he? My little Santa here, filling up the rest of the space. Ho, ho, ho. Now I want to make sure that my ho, ho, ho is set nice and straight. Check my alignment. All is good. Again, I'm going to do that in Memento because I'm going to colour this image in, my little Santa image. I want to colour him in. Also, the advantage of doing it on your stamping platform is, that has just fallen on there. Goodness me, that live. Hopefully that doesn't happen to you. And I would say why that did happen to me is this platform has got a little bit dirty, and then just through cleaning it, it hasn't stuck to my lid. So what I will do is just start that process again, clean off this stamp. So on my example, of course, I'm going to have a little shadow there, but that's fine. I can live with that. And why I'm cleaning these off is because I need to realign them now, and I don't want to have any ink onto those. So realigning that back up. My ho, ho, ho is going to go there. So it's kind of going to look like I've got a bit of a shadow, but that's okay. I can live with that. If we were meant to be making perfect cards, our name would be Hallmark, and it's not. Right. Make sure my little piece is stuck on. For some reason, that's not sticking as good as I would like that, and I'm not sure. I think it's more to do with my cleanliness of my board here. It seems to have a little bit of a spot there that it doesn't like. All right, so try that again. It's not affecting the Santa, so if necessary, I will take him off. Hopefully, I think that's seems a bit more stable. Let's see how we go. We'll run with whatever happens next. So far, so good. Beautiful. And as I said, that's just a glitch that we will live with. If I was doing this out, giving this card to somebody, I would just probably put a little piece of paper over that or cardstock and stamp that again. Right, so that is all our stamping. We can rub out our lines again. We've finished with those lines. And just bring in my alcohol markers again. And we will draw some little presents on here. So I'm going to do the ribbon in red. And there's ribbon here. And this is just the outline of the ribbon. Santa's suit, of course, is red. And again, on the bottom of Santa, where he would have all the fluffy bits like here and around his arms there, I will use glitter glue right at the very end to put on there because it will just need time to dry. And get his little jumpsuit on. You could also put a bit of glitter into his white beard if you wanted to do that as well, but I'm not going to on this occasion. I'm going to leave that white. I'll give him a black belt, but I will also on the black belt, I'll put glossy accents so it gives him a nice shiny belt. Oh, and I almost forgot his red in the hat. Black for his belt. Now, should also give him probably some black boots. And you could also put some glossy accents onto his black boots, give him a bit of a shiny look, almost kind of like a wet look if he was wandering around in the snow all the time. And this one. Just keep turning your work around, make it easier to see. Again, just take your time. These are some small areas you're trying to get into. Just take your time. Whoops. Now I might do the top of this is like a little plum pudding, so it'll be like a little brownie kind of plum pudding that you'll want to do on the, use the thin end. So brown kind of base for his plum pudding. And I will use glitter glue again on the icing of that. And then the holly will be green. Whoops, big end. Use the small end because it's a pretty small image. And on the little berries, I'll do them in red, but I'll also put some glossy accents onto those to give them a nice shiny look as well. Right, so we're just about finished. It's just all the little touches. Now I should colour in some wrapping paper for my little presents there. And I might just introduce a little bit of yellow. Just to give it a little bit of point of interest. Yellow on one. And let's go really, really pale blue. Oops, wrong one. Ice blue on the other one. No right or wrong on how you colour these at all. They're just imagination. I mean, let's face it, Santa is imagination. Right. Now, I'm undecided about his gloves. Do I leave them white? What are Santa's gloves colour? I really can't remember. All right. I will leave them for now and make a decision on that later. So that now all together, hopefully, yes, I've done it the right way. And so I've just got to stick on my bits down here, and I'm going to actually just pop them up onto foam squares just to give it a bit of dimension. So you just need to be aware of what sits on the other side. So I want that to go there. So my squares have to sort of sit down the bottom here. So I'll put one there and one along there. That's a little piece. Now I can probably add another piece up here just to give it stability, and so that will go on there because you don't want these pieces to protrude out to the other side because they'll be sticky. So you just want them just to be on this side here. So I want that to pop up there, and then see how I've just put it on the other side. So that one was a bit too high. So I'll just take that off and bring them down a bit. Just very gently peel them back and bring them down a bit lower. That way then you won't see them out the top. Put that back on. Have a look at that again, so make sure you can't see it, which you can't. I could probably just move that over slightly though, just to fill that little bit of a gap that was there. More towards that edge there, I think. That's better. Right, so there on, my little train can sit up here, and I'll pop him up as well. just because the rest of the card is pretty flat, it's good to give it some dimension where you can. And we might just use this little skinny piece here left over from something else. So it's all coming together now, which is great. Now, I'd love to see what you make from this process video, and you can go and I have a Facebook group called Crafty Fun with Mary's Kazzaz. I'd love to see what you make. Leave a comment on this video if you've liked and enjoyed making your card. And if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and you'll be able to catch up with all the videos that I do in the future. Now, there's no end to what you can decorate here. Now, what I was saying about where you colour, see how you see that through there? I'm not worried about that. And again, even this piece here, it's only, you really can't hardly see that. So I'm actually not going to do anything about that. These need some little coloured baubles. So I am going to just grab my alcohol markers again, and you won't see any of this through it. So you can colour these to your heart's content. Won't worry about the star. It's going to be gold glitter glue, but I might just put on some nice little coloured little lights onto my tree. And that also adds in some colour as well. Any colours, doesn't matter. And you could make these, once you've coloured them, you can put glossy accents onto them as well. And then that gives them a nice little shiny look as well. I'm just grabbing randomly through my lights, through my colours, I should say, not my lights. And I'm just adding in different colours. How about we have some gold? Can't really see that colour on there. I've got a darker one. Right. And I could add some glitter into here, which would kind of represent the tinsel. So that's pretty much the card done. You're really just doing bits and pieces. So I might just keep doing those little bits and bobs. I will probably speed this up in the video so you don't have to keep watching me at slow speed. And then I will join you back after I've coloured all of that in. So I have just gone through and put on the glossy accents onto my little baubles. I've put the stickles onto the bottom here, and that's just all shiny. I couldn't find my gold stickles, but I think it would have probably looked nicer if I had it done in gold, and that would have just lifted that up a little bit as well. I've gone through and put glossy accents onto the top of the carriages there. I had already had a piece of stickles in the center of that. I've got to be careful here because everything is still wet. And then on my little Santa, I've gone and put glossy accents through on his boots and his buckle. Again, I wanted to use gold stickles, but I can't define my one. So I'm actually going to just colour that in a gold pen, and it will look like he's got a gold buckle. Probably needed a bit of black through that centerpiece there. Just have to lift it up this way because none of it's dry, so really it's probably going to smear a bit, but you can see what I've done here anyway. So on my little Santa, just that middle piece would be where the belt buckle goes through, and just put a little bit of onto that as well. Right, so that's pretty much it. So that is the Peekaboo slider card. Put it all back together for you. This piece sits out here. Mine is all wet, so if it does smear, I apologise for that. So that's how that comes through there. A Peekaboo slider card. And you could add in some embellishments and whatnot into here as well. Very, very easy to make. They sit out like that, and obviously it all will sit flat to mail. You know, you just need to keep these pieces at a bit, but that will mail normally. I hope you enjoyed that. Like I said, these were a Zoom class that I do every fortnight, and you'll find the details, all the details of how to join into those Zoom classes on my Facebook page, which is Crafty Fun with Mary's Kazaz. So I hope you enjoyed that process tutorial, and I hope to catch you at a Zoom class. Bye for now.